So we will go ahead and call to order at 5:03. And if we could unmute for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, next order of business is public comment. So as we have on the screen in front of us, we do have virtual public comment available tonight. So if you are interested in providing public comment, you can go ahead and raise your hand, and Devin will give you the availability to speak and provide comment. Just please remember name and address prior to comments being provided. So Devin, anybody?
I am not seeing any hands.
Okay. Let's give it a few more seconds just to make sure. Excellent, thanks so much. All right, we'll move right on to item D, minutes. So could I have a motion to approve the attached February 2nd, 2022 minutes?
So moved, Johnny.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, unanimously approved. Thank you, everybody. Item E is correspondence received January 31st, 2022 through February 14th, 2022. We did not receive any correspondence, but again, I take the opportunity to make sure community members know we do have a contact form on the landing page of our website. Please make sure to use that as a way to contact the building committee directly if you cannot attend meeting or provide public comment. We would love to hear questions, comments, thoughts using that contact form. We will respond obviously with a thorough answer to your request as soon as possible, but please remember that that is available to you. All right, we're going to move right on to item F, which is reports. So we're going to run right into chair report. What I thought we'd do just very quickly is kind of a pull up an old friend here that we've seen before, which is kind of that high level overview of milestones that we have been working towards. Now, obviously, now we have Laurel's project plan that she presents to us that gives us even more distinct milestones for pre-construction and construction. This really kind of lines us around some of the requirements and things that we need to do specifically around kind of Farmington needs and what the town requires for large milestones. So these are embedded in Laurel's plans as well, but it just does give us a nice view of plan development and moving into construction. Not the level of detail, obviously, that we're managing day to day, but I thought it was nice for us to kind of relook at this again and kind of understand where we are in the process and what we've completed to date. So as you can see, that final plan development overview really kind of has us to the point where we're exactly are right now. So as you know, we've had a lot of conversation in our last couple of meetings around bringing on some additional consultants to help us with our work. We've had a lot of conversations around there. We're moving quickly through that. We're going to talk a little bit more about some additional needs we have when we talk about the professional partner subcommittee report a little bit later on. But you know, there's kind of where we've been having a lot of conversation, as well as the item that you see falling directly below that yellow arrow, which is submitting the final plans to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission for site plan approval. So a lot of conversations we've had in the last couple of meetings as well around this. So understanding, you know, the parking lot conversations, we're going to hear more about that tonight as well. But just generally understanding the work and decisions and thoughts that need to go around that site plan. So you can see some of the big heavy hitters that are going to follow from there from an approval perspective that the building committee needs to keep their eye on as far as final plans for approval to the Board of Education, committee approval for final plans, working drawings and specifications, bid documents, those kind of things as we're working through those, and then going out to bid, and then doing some final state reviews as well. And that's going to move us right into that construction phase. And what's working really nicely here, as you'll see, as well as we're going to get an update on communications. So how we're overlaying a communications plan on top of some of these things as well, to make sure that we're fully coordinated and we're keeping the community engaged and informed on all these work efforts moving forward. So although this certainly isn't the level of detail we're managing day to day, it is kind of a nice snapshot of some of the big hit milestones that we kind of need to keep our eye on and what's really driving us forward. So we're going to keep pulling this forward, move our arrow. That the arrow will move down towards the end of this month as we do submit that final approval for the site plan. So, and we'll just keep our eye on that in conjunction with everything that Laurel shares with us in planning at these meetings as well. So just want to remind everybody that this is out there for us. It is actually on the landing page of our website as well. So it's a good point of reference, something you can point people to as well if they want to get kind of an idea. And this also works in conjunction in the website around, there's a high level schedule with some general dates that also lives with it on that landing page. So if you're out there, if there's community members thinking you're going to hear more about our communication efforts moving forward, but if you get some general questions from people on, hey, what's going on? What are you guys thinking? Usually at this point we're hearing, oh, so when are you guys going to break ground? Right, that's the question you're probably hearing most often. So just make sure you know that these resources are available to point people to as well. So this makes sense to everybody, gives us a very high level overview of some big milestones. All right, great. All right, so we're going to actually move right on to additional reports. So next order of business is Town Council Liaison report. So Johnny.
Thank you, Meg. So as I mentioned at the last meeting, the town council had formed the 1928 building ad hoc committee. That committee has met a few times, one time with professional partners for kind of figuring out the dates and really high level talking at this point. No decisions have been made, but we are close to making some kind of recommendation back to the council in form of, what direction a future committee should take and going forward, et cetera. I should have more information for the next meeting.
Great, thanks, Johnny. Any questions for Johnny? All right, we're going to move on to item 2, Board of Education Liaison Report. And unfortunately, Beth cannot be with us tonight, but Sarah, just give you an opportunity. I don't believe there's an additional report out, but just want to give you the opportunity to add anything if it's required.
Sure. No, yeah. Since our last meeting, there has not been anything that has happened relevant to this committee. We had our budget workshop on Saturday and submitted our budget to the town council. But other than that, no other developments.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any questions for Sarah? All right, we will move right on to item number 4, Owner's Rep Report. So Mark or Chris?
Sure, just a few brief things in trying to stay with the schedule. We have started to assemble the RFQs for the structural threshold peer review and a third-party code reviewer. We're working on finalizing those budgets we talked about last week to incorporate the reimbursements. That'll include updating our cash flow projections. And then we had our kickoff with the plan reviewer. Maybe that'll be a little more of a professional partnership subcommittee report, and looking to schedule our kickoff with the commissioning agent. So those are kind of the things that we've been focused on and wrapping up our contracts. And that's really all I had to report.
Great, thanks, Mark. Any questions for Mark? All right, great. We're going to move right on to item 5, Architect Report. Richard, you want me to start with you?
Yes, thanks very much, Meg. Good evening, everyone.
Oh, you're welcome.
With me is Michael Scott from my office, and wanted to report on 3, maybe 4 items The first has to do with our schedule for design development completion. We will be complete at the end of this month. We will deliver to you hundreds of drawings and hundreds of pages of specifications. These documents will be made available to ONG, your construction manager, so they can start the costing of the design development package. And that will take some time for them to do. I'll let Laurel discuss that when she's up next, but things are going well. You will see material that's been developed by all of our consultants. Just to remind you, we have mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, site, civil, food service, acoustics, theater. So you'll see material that's developed by all of them. These are large format sheets. We can make, like we did at the end of enhanced schematic design, we can make half-size sets available, but we can certainly coordinate later with how many sets should be made available, where they should be delivered, so that members of the committee can review the drawings and the specifications. Following design development, as many of you recall, we'll be proceeding with construction documents. We're not going to delay. We're going to roll right into construction documents so that we don't have any lag time. And then when we get a feedback from ONG on cost, and then we'll obviously have to do a reaction to that cost. Being the optimist that I am, I'm expecting that we're going to be right on the money. Time will tell. We'll see what ONG comes back with. We're also preparing to submit, second item is our preparation to submit to planning and zoning site plan approval. We're expecting to make that application by the end of the week, and then we will follow up with technical drawings to planning and zoning next week. Those drawings will specifically focus on the issues pertaining to planning and zoning regulations, things like site plan, drainage, pavement, numbers of parking spaces, site lighting is within their purview, site coverage, building size, etc. We don't see any problems making that submission. We've had a couple of meetings with Shannon Rutherford, the acting town planner, as well as with Russ Arnold on a number of particulars. So we don't see an issue with making that submission. The third item I wanted to report on was the early enabling package that ONG has recommended that we undertake as an early phase of construction. We're going to include that early phase package with the planning and zoning submission, because I'm sure planning and zoning commissioners will have questions about what the schedule is for construction, what impact will they see immediately on the site, and so the early enabling package will be included as part of the application. I expect that we will get approval at some point, probably after 1 or 2 rounds of public hearings is what we expect will happen. And then once that approval is in hand, then we can submit those approvals to the state as we apply for plan approval. The state will require site plan approval by planning and zoning in order to actually approve each phase of the project. And the early enabling package is the first phase of the project that we expect approval from the state. So that was the third item. And I do want to talk a little bit about the fourth item, which is the number of parking spaces. I think, Meg, at an earlier meeting, you asked me to forward to you some sort of summary table, which I've done. And I can share that with the committee tonight. But this goes hand in hand with the question of how many parking spaces do we have now? How many parking spaces are we going to have during construction? How many parking spaces are we going to have when we're finished? And so to explain all of this, I'm going to rely on Michael Scott to share with you the early enabling package plan, and we'll give you an overview of that. so that you understand where the temporary parking lot is for students, those sorts of things, where the construction fence will be, where the construction access will be, and so on. And then I will supplement that discussion with my table of parking analysis. Okay, so I'm going to ask Michael Scott if he could share his
Okay.
screen.
Oh, there we go. I was about ready to ask Devin if I could steal the screen. Thank you, Richard. Share screen one, share. Let's just do here. Let's see. Can everyone, there we go. Can everyone see the temporary plan? Richard, can you see the temporary plan?
We can see it, Michael. Looks
Oh,
good.
Yes,
good. Thanks. Thanks.
I can see it, yes.
Good. Very good.
Sorry, Michael, we were all nodding our heads.
I was going to say you couldn't,
Oh,
you couldn't
you
hear me
know,
nodding my head yet.
Very good. All your faces were on top of the drawing. So as soon as I moved your faces away, I was unsure. Richard, shall I narrate this or should I
Yes.
Vanna
No,
White it? Okay. All right.
Please narrate it, and then when you get
Very
to
good.
the end, you can ask for questions, and then when you're finished, you can make reference to the parking analysis chart in the lower left-hand corner, and then I'll supplement it with
Super.
more.
Super. Okay. So everyone should understand, orient this drawing pretty well. This is the river. This is Route 4. This is Monteith, Town Hall, Library. And this is your existing school. And this is where the new school will go, on top of the ball field and practice area and tennis courts. So first, let me zoom into this area so you can better understand this. The green line here is a construction fence, which secures the building site and staging area and contractor parking from the rest of your school business while the building is being constructed. You will also see a dedicated path for pedestrians. It comes around this fence to return the cut through that students and public currently enjoy across the fields. You'll see that we are taking the 8 tennis courts, and the other thing in blue here are the parking spaces that need to be removed either for contractor staging or for traffic flow once we've come back over the top. This fence is located such that O&G can not only build the building that exists in this dotted line, but can get their heavy equipment around and maneuver between staging areas and get work done. So knowing that that is at the top of the hill, let's talk about what happens when you come on site. Everyone comes on site as they do today at Monteith. And what will immediately happen is a certain portion of students will be diverted into the library parking lot, and the rest will come up to the top to your existing parking area. Parents picking up and dropping off will come up Monteith as they do now, and they'll be diverted around the parking lot similar to what they do now. They will not have be able to avail the tennis court spur in this loop. And buses will do as they do now, depicted in yellow. They'll come up to the top of the hill, come across, and they will stage in this rear lot. Staff and faculty will primarily be assigned to this rear lot. You can see that in constructing the building and returning new circulation paths, there's a considerable amount of parking spaces that will be removed for use during construction. That number is returned down here to a temporary lot that's built at the base of the F hill between Route 4, and you'll see the hedge F here on the survey at the base of the slope. And currently we're anticipating 133 spaces here. That is why the red traffic, which is student traffic, is split between here and here. The idea here is that buses in the morning come, they make their drop off, they return and they come back out just as they do today. Parents in the morning will come, they'll queue up here as you get closer to your opening bell. They'll drop off their students along this line as they do today. Those students will come into the glass tower next to the 900 wing as they do today, and then parents will leave. In the morning, students will come and based on either the permit that they have or some other bit of administration know that they can park at the top of the hill as they do today, in which we'll create, rather than follow the parent loop as they do today, our traffic engineer is recommending that we split them off earlier and introduce a new curb cut. This may shift a little bit along this line, but they'll come in here so that they're not caught up in this queue. And then they can find their parking spaces here. And there's only one exit out of this upper lot as a way to simplify that loop. Alternatively, if they're assigned a lower parking spot, they'll pull off here as you would go to the library, stay away from the edge of the library and park here. If they do park here, we've established this blue dotted line, which is a pedestrian path up with a single crossing here. So this only involves bus traffic, and they will come to this glass tower as they do today as well to enter the school. In the afternoon, it's much the same way. Parents queue up here, more or less as they do now. Students make their way to their cars to exit. Buses queue up here diagonally and queue up along here as they do today. They load up and they exit. All of that's choreographed by gatekeepers located here and here. In purple, you can see some construction traffic, a diagram of how construction vehicles will come and go from the site. There'll be a gate here and a gate over here to construction. And this may seem problematic, but you know, over half of our schools nowadays are built on occupied sites. So construction traffic is governed by the O&G and the construction manager, which tightly controls when deliveries can't come and go to the site. So the peak mornings, peak afternoons, those will be essentially no-fly times for construction traffic. So everything will be onboarded onto this site well ahead of your morning bell. Construction activities will occur and nothing will leave the site until after your afternoon bell. We're working with the working group to adjust this curb cut here and the width of Monteith here to ease this for construction traffic, as well as this piece here. The next thing Richard asked me to discuss is the parking summary. So this is a parking summary of everything that's happening at the high school plateau. You'll recall that really this site is one giant town campus made up of the library, town hall, the historic house, and the high school. And this is a summary of just what happens at the high school level, so the top of the F hill. Currently, you have 516 spaces. During construction, we're eliminating all of those blue spaces that I showed you, plus some more. And at the end of the project, you will have not only 516, but 570 by the time we're done. This 570 isn't a total gain for the high school population because 40 of these spaces will be occupied by central office staff as they come up from town hall to the high school site. So during construction, we're going to build on top of 160 of your spaces. We're going to build that temporary lot down at the library level. So net during construction, you'll be at a 24 space deficit. I should say that all of this count includes the 24 space deficit includes all 55 spaces at the tennis courts. That would be these spaces here. And I'd just like to point out that right now in this bay, these spaces are currently permanently occupied by outdoor storage containers. And in our anecdotal observation, during the course of school business, maybe 20 of these spaces are occupied during the regular day. So we're pretty close to balancing over the course of construction to the situation that you have right now. Are there any questions about the diagram? Okay, if not, I will switch over to this piece, which I'll let Richard talk about.
Great, thanks very much, Michael. So I'm trying to simplify here in chart form what the status of parking spaces will be, not only on the high school portion of the site, but also the entire campus, if you will, the entire municipal campus. And I think of this as three areas. First is the high school and central office. And these numbers are based upon the actual plans that we've prepared. So as Michael reported a few minutes ago, if we look at the existing number of spaces at Farmington High School, it's 516. During construction, that will be reduced to 356 plus 136 in the temporary lot, making a total of 492 during construction. And then after construction, you'll end up with 530 spaces for the high school, plus 40 spaces for central office, making a total of 570 spaces. That's for the uppermost plateau. The second grouping is at town hall and central office. And this is based upon an actual count that we did. Actually, Michael did. He went out and he counted parking spaces because we did not have a survey that accurately reflected what you have out there in plan form. So he counted spaces and verified it. There are a total of 124 spaces at the town hall. And based upon my previous notes, central office has 40 spaces for staff and visitors, leaving 84 for town hall business. That's how we came up with a total of 124. The last section of the parking is other, which consists of the library and Staple House. And again, by counting spaces, we know that there are 109 spaces for that area of the site. So if we look at the total campus for the high school, the library, town hall, and Staple House, we have at the very last column here, existing 749 spaces. During construction, that will drop to 725 spaces. And then once we're finished and the temporary parking lot is removed, you'll end up with 803 spaces for the entire campus. We discussed this during the working group this afternoon. Russ Arnold summarized it and said it doesn't look like a significant impact on the total number of parking spaces. If you do the math, you'll see that we're adding a total of 54 spaces to this site. And our traffic engineer from SLR will be compiling a traffic report that will become an important ingredient for site plan approval, as well as for state reviews and approvals. Any questions about the numbers on this chart? I hear no questions, so I guess that's it for my report. Thank you, Meg.
Sure. Any questions at all? Anybody can think of? What I want to do is just kind of based on that conversation, getting an overview. I kind of want to put it out there to the committee to get general consensus, understanding of the plan, makes sense. Want to make sure there's no, objections to what you're seeing there or concerns. So just want to give the committee an opportunity to present that as well. Nothing makes sense? Yes.
Thank goodness you're nodding your heads, because this is what
I know.
this is what we're submitting to planning and zoning.
So Meg, I'll just say that obviously we've beat this up quite a bit in the work group.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't have 100 questions this time. But I think we walked out of the last work group meeting pretty much in consensus that we have something ready to present.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Johnny, that was my fault. I should have mentioned that this has certainly been a big topic of conversation with the working group. So thank you for doing that. Been vetted, a lot of conversations around it. What are the best approaches? How do we handle it? What's going to get us the best result there? So, but I appreciate the presentation. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's super clear. Love the analysis of the parking spots, Richard. That's very helpful. I think it clarifies a lot as well. So. All right, I don't see or hear of any objections. All right, so we are good to go. Are you all set, Richard? Anything else you need from us tonight?
Nope, we're good to go. Thank you.
Awesome. Excellent, thank you so much for that. So we will open it up to item number 6, which is the construction manager report. That could be you first, Laurel.
Sure. Good evening. I'm going to report that we're on schedule. I do have a pre-construction schedule that I can share and speak to at the screen if you'd prefer, or I could just kind of walk through the activities.
Yeah, go ahead and share with us. Wow, that'd be good.
Can everyone see my screen okay? I'll blow it up so that you can see it better, but you can see that there's page 1, right? It's updated as of today. So what I'll do is I'll just go over the activities of what's been being worked on. I kind of have highlighted between now and the next month, just so that you kind of see as a committee what's up and coming. I believe our contract is still not finalized yet. So I still am carrying that as an outstanding activity. It is green though, so it's not impacting anything, but just that is still being worked on, hopefully finalized fairly soon.
We are close.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, we're close. Mark helped to answer a few questions that I'm getting back to Kat today. So we are close.
We're getting
I gotta say, this is probably the longest time to do it, but that's okay. All right. Next, and Mark of CSG had already mentioned this. It's called a code local review contract, working on those RFPs, the structural peer review contract. These are required just because of the size of the project. So these are the next contracts that you as the committee will start to see at some point once the proposals come in. It doesn't end there. There's still another one that's out there, and that's the materials testing, but that's further in the future. So that's all on schedule. As Richard had mentioned, design development is done at the end of this month. We have some reviews that will be kicking in, as well as our estimates. So that next round of estimates will be starting off as of March 1st. Whatever we need to do with the traffic study, getting ready to go to OSTA, that's a critical item. So that's being worked on. As was mentioned, the construction documents for phase 1, I have a start of February 22nd. And that's what all of these conversations have been, basically programming, schematic design, but then they actually need to put together a package that's got to be ready for bid. So it needs to kind of kick into a whole nother gear now that the planning is still not finalized all the way, but we're very, very close. Also, as Richard had mentioned, they're rolling straight into construction documents. We're not stopping to wait for the estimate. It's the only way we're going to make our time here. So proceeding straight into construction documents. And I have on here, it doesn't need to be now, but I just didn't update it based on my last update. At some point, re-looking at your revised ed specs. Again, it doesn't have to be now, but it's just an activity that's that will be coming around at some point. Next, we have our regulatory approvals, anything to do with flood management certification if we do need it. Getting ready to gear up for the stormwater general permit, just because these are very long time frames for reviews. We're looking ahead that these kind of need to be started on within the next month or so. Again, the OSTA is a concern. I have that somewhere starting around March 7th. That's when that application would go in. And also, as was already previously mentioned, these applications for the site plan. So these are the activities that we're keeping an eye on within the very near future. Again, I'm just giving you like the month of work, and we're not worried about bidding or anything or construction at this point. But I don't know if anybody had any questions or any other concerns.
Nothing for Laurel. Awesome. Thank you, Laurel. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Anything else from construction manager report or?
No, not this time. No.
All right. Excellent. All right. We're going to move right on to item 7, which is communications subcommittee report. So I'm going to ask Kat if she could just give us a brief overview.
So the communications subcommittee met right before this meeting. We reviewed kind of a high-level schedule of our upcoming milestones. We are looking for a progress report at an upcoming building committee, kind of carving out some time in that meeting to do a short presentation rather than having a standalone meeting, because it's really just design going on right now. There's not too much to report out to the community on. We are going to be gearing up for a community Zoom meeting. We're looking at the April timeframe for that. There should be more moving closer to final documents. We should be through TPZ. We think that'll be a good opportunity to share a progress update with the community at a separate community meeting. We are also, believe it or not, trying to think about groundbreaking ceremony stuff that will be here before we know it. So just logistics of that, invitations to that, all of those fun things. So I think communications will increase closer to the summer as we kind of have and move through design development and construction documents. So more to come on that, but that's kind of a high level overview of where we are.
And I'm going to put a pitch out for anybody who's interested in being involved in the groundbreaking planning. If you could let either Kat or I know, we would love to have support on that. Just start thinking about it, and there's a lot of logistics that go into that. So if it's something you'd really love to be involved with, just let us know and we can kind of pull you into those conversations. Any other questions for Kat? All right, we're going to move on to number 8, which is professional partnership subcommittee report. This is actually going to be referring back to a lot of things we've heard a couple times this evening in a couple reports about some additional RFPs that we have to put together. And so that's something that we're going to need to pull the subcommittee together probably in the next week or so. So those of you involved in that subcommittee, keep your eye out for that invitation. Mark had mentioned they're starting the draft review of RFPs for that structural threshold review and that local code review. So we're going to work towards getting those out and start that process. So what that looks like to us is that in our March meeting, we should see that hit our agenda as far as review for that RFP so that we can go ahead and start those conversations. So just to give everybody an update, so you saw that in Laurel's plan. Mark mentioned it as well. So it's all being coordinated across the board, but we just need to pull in that subcommittee to help us with the process. Any questions on that? All right, final report of the night, number 9, financial report.
There are no updates to our financial reports. We don't have any invoices to approve tonight, and we have not spent any money since the last meeting.
Any questions on that update? That would be interesting. Awesome. Thank you, Kat. All right. So that has actually brought us to the end of our agenda this evening, which is fantastic. We appreciate the conversation tonight. Great updates. I think we should feel good about progress to date, next steps, good understanding of where we're heading. So with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved, Johnny.
Second, Michael.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? All right, so we will adjourn this evening at 5:43.